Thanks for joining us for the last 7 days. I'm Brian Spellman.
And I'm Andrew Sparrow on Clearly BBC World from that signature tune.
Today is Friday, the 17th of November, and we're going to spend the next few minutes talking about news over the last, you guessed it, 7 days, and how it impacts our world of PLM, CAD, MES, MOM, MFG, and other TLAs.
We talk about automotive, high-tech, people, and culture, but first, let's get on into aerospace and defense. Ready? Still
and
my
that
thunder.
Was a trigger-happy Brian right there, because Andrew only got ready and the plane already flew by. So
you bet.
I'll let you finish your set go if you want.
Set go.
There we go. So Boeing partners with U.S. government to boost SAF development in APAC countries. Boeing has said it will partner with the U.S. government in a project that's aimed at addressing challenges faced by Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation member countries in developing and scaling the use of a sustainable aviation fuel, abbreviated as another three-letter acronym as SAF. This fuel is made out of waste like cooking oils, municipal waste, agriculture residues, and it's key in helping the aviation industry cut its carbon emissions. The airline's current use of SAF represents only 0.1% of global jet fuel demand, and it costs 3 to 5 times more to make than standard jet fuel. So far, Boeing has purchased 7.6 million gallons of SAF for its U.S. commercial airplanes since 2022.
This is a shift, isn't it? Shift in priorities, because I mean, not that long ago, no large enterprise would go spend a lot more money to be sustainable. Interesting. I wonder if everybody's following suit.
Yeah, they have apparently a net zero emissions goal here, and they're hoping that this partnership allows to create a cheaper way to manufacture the fuel.
Got it. Alrighty. Meanwhile, Amazon's prototype Kuiper satellites operating successfully. So Amazon's 2 prototype satellites for its planned Kuiper internet network have been operating successfully in orbit, with the project on track to start launching operational satellites by mid-2024. Kuiper will compete against Starlink. Did you know that? Did you know they were out there?
I did not know that until finding articles for this week.
Exactly. So it's news. I must admit, I didn't really know either. So the US Federal Communications Commission has required Amazon to deploy half of its more than 3,000 planned satellite constellations by 2026. Wow. 3,000 of them 5,000 from Starlink. That is a busy use of space,
Yeah.
for one of a better movie statement I recall. 8,000 out there. So imagine debris, maintenance, trying to get past them on your way to Mars, all those kind of things. Really interesting. So last year, Amazon announced a bulk launch deal for 83 launches from various rocket companies, including Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin, ULA, and Europe's Ariane Space. The Boeing Lockheed Joint Venture United Launch Alliance, ULA, is set to loft the first several batches of Kuiper satellites aboard its Atlas V and the company's upcoming Vulcan rocket.
You know, we talked a couple weeks ago about the end of life for some of the SpaceX satellites, with the fear of maybe they're going to fall on people's heads, maybe they don't burn up all the way. What happens in that, life cycle once they have outlived their technology usefulness? And I wonder what Amazon's thought about that too. It'll be interesting to find out. I'm sure we'll find some news about that coming out soon. But speaking of taking off, Joby shows electric air taxis in New York, targeting a 2025 launch date. That's right. Electric air taxis could be transporting passengers from JFK Airport to downtown Manhattan by 2025, with quiet, emissions-free journeys that take around 7 minutes. They're saying this can recharge in about 5 minutes. Basically, while passengers are unloading and boarding, it'll recharge. The company aims to begin commercial passenger service in 2025 and is in the third of 5 stages of certification with the FAA. The cost of booking a trip is supposed to be about the same as a rideshare in a car.
Oh, this is huge. That's huge. I mean, if I got 7 minutes from JFK to downtown, I'm paying the same price as an Uber rideshare. I mean, come on. Who isn't going to want to do that? Unless you're afraid of flying. I mean, everybody else is going to want to do it. So in a fraction of the time. So can't wait. I want it to come to LAX, because right now when I land in LAX, I walk 10 minutes to get to the Uber stand. So
yeah, it would be a game changer for LA.
So when you get a JFK, you've already got home before I've even got to the Uber stand. So they need to fix that one. That's just another issue. But I have to say again, though, I'm a big fan of what Joby are doing. Can they build at scale? Can they manufacture this at scale? Because you've got a 7-minute journey, JFK to downtime, for the price of an Uber. I mean, that's got to be at scale, that kind of operation. So they need to fix their manufacturing execution, manufacturing operations management solution to move at scale. And dare I say it, when you're ready, guys, I'm first up. I'd love to help. This is fun.
Yeah, and this seems like we have you mentioned manufacturing at scale. This keeps coming up over and over again, pretty much every time we talk about projects. And just today we have Joby needing to do the air taxis at scale. We've got Amazon and, of course, Starlink with doing all these satellites at scale and launching. And even the idea of trying to find a way to manufacture this new standard jet fuel, the new, better, more environmental friendly jet fuel in a way that makes sense at scale. Yeah. So with all of this, there's a huge need for manufacturing, right? And I guess that's why Greg is joining us early.
It's consistent for these disruptors, isn't it? They've got to have that ability to get out of the dream and the perfectionism of engineering into the ability to manufacture at scale. Otherwise, it just remains a dream.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, guys. Let's let Joby get through the rest of the FAA process before I'm ready to jump in. I know, Andrew, you're ready and willing, but I have a little bit of hesitation. The FAA has come under a little bit of hot water this year. If you guys have been paying attention, that they have hired an independent review team who's called for urgent action to prevent some plane crashes and has made basically a series of recommendations after a number of close calls involving passenger jets, right? So there's a number of different problems that the report has highlighted: shortages of air traffic controllers, technology issues, outdated systems, dramatic funding needs. In August, we had a Southwest Airlines Boeing 737 and a Cessna came within 100 feet of each other, which 100 feet on the ground, is it feels a little further than 100 feet in the air. I feel like
when you're doing a couple hundred miles an hour, I should say,
Exactly. Yeah, a little close. The report said basically the FAA's communication system has been outdated for years, and the agency can no longer get spare parts for many systems. It cited aging FAA air traffic control facilities, leaking roofs, broken heating, air conditioning systems, and then old radar systems that have to be replaced eventually and probably pretty soon at probably a cost of billions of dollars. But I know since January, the National Transportation Safety Board has opened 7 different investigations into near miss incidents.
Wow.
Including some that could have been pretty catastrophic.
We were talking about this as we came into COVID with Dassault and the aftermarket, the A&D aftermarket guys, and they were looking at kind of airport operations, air traffic control systems, even structures of these things. As you say, I mean, you got leaks going on, all this kind of scary stuff, because we've got a pretty long-standing infra. The problem is you kind of lead the way on aerospace aviation many years ago, but it also means you've also got the oldest infra in place. So it's a huge amount to do. And I've got to say, from a product lifecycle perspective, simulating new structures, simulating new workflows and designs. I mean, it's all big stuff now. So a lot of investment needs to be made.
Yeah, Greg, the news you've just said is making me feel like we might be safer just to stay on the ground.
Oh, it's such a beautiful little bridge man you are.
I always try to find a good way to transition. That one, I like that one. I came up with that almost on the fly, you might say.
Oh, yep. Okay, perfect. Go for it.
GM reorganizes BrightDrop electrical vehicle unit. The electric commercial vehicle unit's reorganization is meant to make it less independent and to reduce cost. This unit launched in early 2021, and it will no longer operate separately from the parent company. When it was first launched, officials talked about BrightDrop as a startup within GM that had operational freedom. But now it's going to be fully integrated with GM, quote, so that our work is more efficient. GM says it still intends to build up production of the BrightDrop Zevo vans, which are expected to resume next year and will be supported by the launch of Ingersoll plant's new battery module operations.
This is really interesting, because a lot of these kind of disruptive startups that are coming out from large enterprise, they do separate them out. So you've got that startup mentality and attitude, which gives it a lot of energy, let's be honest, and speed, and not fear of failure, and make a mistake, learn, get better. But the problem is equally is that you lose that economies of scale piece, don't you, as well? You also end up with kind of siloed operations over there. So clearly GM's seen that. Maybe this is a way to get that kind of economies of scale, dare I say, to build at scale. That's one thing that GM does incredibly well, but they've got a lot of challenges to integrate this. I hope they make it work, because they've kind of got to get data sharing back in. They've got to get workflow integration back in. They've got to get systems compatibility back in. So, and that's never mind before you get to the kiss and cuddle stuff that Greg does.
Yeah,
the whole idea of bringing in, you've got these firms where you have different CAD programs, different PLM systems, all of these different things happening, and have to find a way to integrate those. So integration isn't just a click of a button. I mean, I've been involved in a lot of projects with smaller companies that have been purchased or assimilated by a larger one, and getting all of those things brought in there is a huge undertaking, not to mention, as you said, the people aspect.
Yeah. And the UAW, United Auto Workers Union, just ratified their labor deal and solidified that with GM. I think the deal passed by 55%, which is not a huge margin. So 55% yes, 45% no. One of the things that included was record wage increases, 25% increase plus cost of living increases. So a number of different things that are hitting the bottom line. Voting at Ford and Stellantis still underway, but both are expected to pass probably by larger margins. GM has already, but we're seeing impacts, right? To your point, we're already seeing impacts here. GM has looked at its profit for the year and has already pulled plans for a $4 billion electric truck plant in Michigan. And so certainly going to be interesting to see this play out.
Is this the last week you're going to mention the UAW strike?
I promise. Last week, I will not bring another article. That doesn't mean somebody else may not, but we'll see.
Yeah. Anyway, the deal is done. Big investment from a GM perspective. Anyway, you got it.
Yeah.
Talking of quick investment news, Aston Martin F1 Formula One team gets investment from private equity firm Arctos. The Aston Martin Formula One team said on Thursday it had agreed on an investment by the US private equity firm Arctos Partners in exchange for a minority shareholding. The stake sale, terms of which were not disclosed, values the racing group at £1 billion, 1.24 billion dollars. Pretty impressive. It is the wealthiest sport in the world. Still, I think, not sure, but I think it still is. French car maker, also Renault, in June sold a 24% stake valued at 200 million euros in its F1 team Alpine Racing to an investor group which included Hollywood actors Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. And I'm feeling like a rookie. I can't even think who he is now. But anyways,
that's you're right. That's an impressive amount of money involved in some of this fancy racing.
Big bucks.
Yeah. Wave is to scale deep learning for autonomous vehicles with Microsoft supercomputing technologies. Wave announced it's working with Microsoft to leverage this supercomputing infrastructure to support the development of AI-based models for the autonomous vehicles on a global scale. The companies are bringing together Wave's industry-leading expertise using deep neural networks and the vast quantities of data in order to train AI models with Microsoft's large-scale AI systems. Traditional self-driving systems rely on expensive hardware, on HD mapping, on complex localization systems. They can take months or even years to re-engineer for any new location. But Wave has taken a data-driven learned approach that enables the design of autonomous vehicle systems that can generalize or apply their driving intelligence to new, unseen places. To demonstrate this, they tested autonomous driving systems across 5 different UK cities last year and showed they could perform the same skills they learned in those cities that they learned in London in these new cities without any prior city-specific adaptations.
That's tough. That's a tough ground to learn. I mean, you guys know UK cities. We don't have too many grids over there unless you're in a place called Milton Keynes, and that's about it, I think. So that's a tough area to build to test out an autonomous vehicle. Challenges on this, this whole autonomous driving. And by the way, I'm first in line. If I haven't said it before, you get me from behind the wheel and let a robot deal with it. I'm game on for that. But to me, it's a big area for product lifecycle because integration, again, is the issue. PLM is traditionally designed to handle structured data and clear processes, whereas AI is all about deep learning and huge amounts of unstructured data. So ensuring that kind of seamless integration is going to be massive. Data flows, collaboration between AI models and existing PLM and MESMOM systems is going to be crucial. So it's going to take them some time to fix that, to bring it to market, of course.
Yeah. Andrew, you can be first in line. I'll be last in line. We'll balance each other out.
there's like a trait going on here. You're like last on the flying eVTOLs. You're last on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll balance
Mr.
each
Risk
other
averse. Are you an accountant?
That's right. Something like that. I don't know. HR.
Yeah.
Tomato, potato. I love it. On bringing it down, the scale down a little bit, Amazon's Astro robot has gotten its first job, going to work as a security guard. Astro was introduced, I think, September 2021, a couple years ago, had a few changes, and recently it's been including security for brick and mortar businesses. Retail shrink, which includes shoplifting and organized retail crime, reached nearly $100 billion in 2022. So Amazon has, I don't want to say they've re-rolled, no pun intended, but maybe re-rolled Astro out, but is now rebuilt Astro to basically roll through businesses, a miniature car of sorts, rolling through businesses to make sure that they can take care of security while
one step away from RoboCop.
Well, we're getting there. We're getting there. It's a little smaller than that. Might be a little bit of an ankle biter if you saw it. But 3 small wheels. They're also offering like a suite of security products in tandem with that. Obviously, Ring is a huge part of that, linking it to Ring sensors and motion detectors. Would you guys spend asking price is $1,500, but then there's subscription on top of that. Would you guys spend $1,500 to help combat?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at $100 billion unfortunate industry, then I would be amazed if people aren't prepared to spend that.
Yeah, easily.
Yep.
I've noticed that we've started blurring the lines here between our automotive section and our technology section. So I'm just going to play this exciting transition video and officially move us into technology.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're here in this whole technology section, I'd like to keep blurring those lines by talking about how apparently Amazon is now going to start selling cars online. So customers are going to be able to shop for, equip, and buy a Hyundai vehicle on Amazon and schedule the delivery through a local dealer. This agreement is an expansion of a deal announced 2 years ago to expand Hyundai's digital showroom and enabling customers they can configure the vehicle, calculate the price, locate a dealer, and do all of this just ordered on Amazon.
Yeah. Makes sense. Love it. Although it is sorry, Brian, what was that?
I was going to say, speaking of technology, there was a glitch in the technology because that video is supposed to make something magical happen, which looks something like this.
Ta-da! Like that.
Hey, Joseph.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Doing good. I love that Amazon one, though. Just going back to that with Hyundai.
How many ways can we pronounce that word?
Yeah, there's a number.
It's this is, I got to say, for the last few years, I've been banging on about the integration of CRM CPQ with PLM. Why is CRM not better integrated into your product lifecycle management enterprise application? And there's a number of views, some of which are quite personal, that I've seen out there about certain CEOs getting with other CEOs, arguing in an elevator and never wanting to work together ever again. Maybe that had a bearing on it. I don't know. But to get the CRM CPQ systems into PLM and then through into MESMOM for configuring that personalized product, batches of one, I think is phenomenal, and it can be done right now. I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, I mean, all you've got to really kind of get in place is like your rule-based configuration, your logic rules, your engineering constraints, regulatory requirements, all those kind of good things, and off we go. So good stuff. Glad they're doing it. It'll push the product lifecycle to connect up with CRM.
How quickly do you think we'll get to a point where we're ordering online and then the car is just going to be delivered in our driveway, right? We've all seen the 16-year-olds, whether it's in movies or we had it happen to ourselves, and we wake up and the car's in the driveway, the big bow on it. How quickly do you think we're going to get to that point?
Or we ordered the car and it drives itself to your driveway.
That'll take a little longer, but I think the first one, it's there already, isn't it? I mean, that's going to happen because they just have to hook up with either the dealership or the centralized warehouse facility to deliver to it with a big bow.
Wow.
Yep.
Crazy.
Good. Yeah. Meantime, Apple to make messaging between iPhones and the other one easier. Apple plans to adopt a messaging standard next year that will allow for a smoother texting experience between iPhones and the other one, reported on Thursday. The company has been pushing back on Rich Communication Services, RCS standard, for more than a year, even as, Alphabet Android devices and others have pressured the iPhone maker to adopt the technology.
Am I to understand from this that you might be a user of an iPhone? That's what I'm sensing here, which means you know the whole blue-green text thing that's so annoying. If you don't use an iPhone, you don't understand it. But
yeah, true.
But it really is because Apple's for some reason been so far behind on adopting this new technology and standard just to make it easy. I think they were trying to keep some rivalry because they do a good job of making you feel like, oh, that's the green text. Ugh. But anyway,
They do a good job. I'll say I have a separate family group text where I have removed Android users because they're not in iMessaging. It's
Yeah,
not
because
the
it
blue
messes up
box that I'm
everything.
used
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I'll call them once a year just to make sure they're up to date on everything. But
yeah. It's just that WhatsApp thing again, isn't it? So you're back over there.
that's right.
Anyways,
Yeah.
good.
Speaking of like interconnecting family, for example, China is actually going to allow road trials of intelligent connected vehicles. China is going to allow these intelligent connected vehicles called ICVs in designated city areas. We know that China is the world's largest auto market, and it said its long-term strategic focus on ICVs and a push to become the leader in the leading global player in this still very new industry. The trials are going to apply to levels 3 and 4 in China's 5 categories of autonomous driving. And it's going to be interesting seeing this happen. And I'm curious if such things are opening up more the possibility for hacking into vehicles and just problems caused when people decide to mess with that technology there.
Of course, and that's everywhere. It doesn't matter what industry. There's more and more opportunities to hack. Of course, there's so much more software being embedded. I mean, sooner or later we're going to have it in our clothing, and we'll be hacking our clothing next. So your hoodie will come up when you don't even know about it. So all that stuff. So yeah,
If only there was some way to help with this whole like cybersecurity stuff,
You know what, Brian? I have a big comment over here because if you try to relate everything, because you have guys, you have really interesting articles, with TVs, with technology, with AI, with everything of today, right? With technology, and what happened with cybersecurity? Right now, I don't know if you are familiar with. Let me read that because it's a little bit complex. But the association is SEMI, right?
hmm
So those
yeah,
guys are trying to create the new regulations and try to standardize everything to
yep,
create, design, and manufacture new semiconductors, but considering the cybersecurity rules, right? Why? Because everything is getting really important. Everything going to be connected throughout our lives, right? So gonna be a big landscape and global environment where everything going to be connected. The last week we discussed about it, about how Siemens is trying to manufacture databases, data centers, also,
yep,
but everything ready for AI, right? How to
Mhm.
support the next probably 10 5 years with improvements in technologies powered by the new engines of AI. But right now, with cybersecurity and going back to SEMI, they are trying to put everything together and regulate the standardization to create good semiconductors and yeah, prevent, could be hack attacks, could be different things, because guys, you're talking about your lives. You're talking about devices in your phone, in your computer, your car right now, your eVTOL, or it could be, devices like the glasses, the
Mhm.
Neuralink, or what, right? So everything gonna be is that is bringing me like to be in the movie of RoboCop or something, So everything is getting connected. So what do you think about it, guys?
I think there's got to be a lot of regulations and requirements and everything involved here, probably standardizations, because we know for years in aerospace we have all the all the regulations, government, FAA, et cetera. And manufacturing, you've got the ASME, the ISME, all the standards you're doing here, and there are standards for I know Semi's using for the was it E187 certificates, risk rating services, cybersecurity to try to make this all a big global standard, basically. And it's interesting watching those requirements have to happen in this industry as well.
I think to me it speaks to what we started out by saying, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, which is the product lifecycle PLM starts with, ends with collaboration. Now, if you go back not so long ago, the person would come up with an idea, a concept, they'd draw it out, then they'd pass it to the next guy who'd start to put a decent structural design on the whole thing. Then they'd pass it to the mechanical guy. The mechanical guy would go, oh no, I can't work to that structure because of the way things need to move. Let's go change all of that. So it was this kind of sequential design that took forever. I mean, a vehicle takes 3 or 4 years historically to design. Along comes a new startup like a Canoe, who we deal with, I must say. And suddenly within 12, 15 months, they designed it, built it as an MVP, out we go. Why? Collaboration. It's concurrent design, not sequential design. We shouldn't be thinking about security as an afterthought. We shouldn't be thinking about how do I build it as an afterthought. It should be all starting out together in a collaborative platform environment. So to me, that's the big thing that's screaming loud and clear here.
Yeah.
And as factories are increasingly using these new technologies, they're going to become more vulnerable to these cyber threats. So not only are we going to need to hire security experts, cybersecurity experts, but we're also going to have to hire and upskill our current workforce for tech skills that are probably not even on their radar yet.
Yeah, and even mindset, man. Even mindset, because if guys are not used to working in a collaborative, concurrent environment and they're used to sequential, they have to shift the way they think as well. So,
Cool. Speaking of shifting, Andrew, did you notice almost every time when Joseph comes on the show, the first thing he talks about is manufacturing in Mexico, reshoring, nearshoring, and he hasn't done that.
And UAW, your strike,
yeah. No.
Guys, I won't miss, my article about reshoring, about manufacturing, and how is everything growing up over here. So right now, guys, you are very familiar with this because this product has decades, a lot of years in the market. So now it's about Lego. Lego is trying to put the biggest plant in the world for manufacturing in Nuevo León, where is Monterrey. Right.
Biggest plant for Lego or biggest plants in the world?
Biggest
for Lego.
Plant, of Lego, of course.
Of Lego, okay.
In the world.
Got it.
Okay. So
fantastic. In where is it again? Near Monterrey, because it's that place you just mentioned.
Yeah, Monterrey. And Monterrey is the city, but Nuevo León is the state. So it's pretty close to capital.
Just down the road from there. Lego, don't forget us.
I'm thrilled for this move. I'm excited. I've been a Lego fan since I was small. I got a set for my son when he turned 4.
I've been a Duplo fan since.
A Duplo fan. Okay. Look at that. This is the way.
That's nice.
I love it. The biggest deterrent for me has been, I hear people complain about the price of milk and the price of gas. I don't hear enough complaining. Oh, BB-8, the best. I don't hear enough people complaining about the price of Lego. However, at the end of the day, I think we've all made some memories growing up, whether it's with Lego. We don't really talk about Duplo, but unless you're Andrew, but we've all made some memories growing up. So I'm excited for even this Christmas season. I'm negotiating between my dad and what he can get his grandson, and they can play together. And maybe I need to get in on that a little bit.
I remember growing up, I would always get some new fancy Lego to put together every year at Christmas. And then, when I'm off in college, my dad and I would always put them together, and we hadn't done that for years. So one time I'm off in college, I come home, and for Christmas, I give my dad a Lego set, and we spend that afternoon putting together a Lego set. It was a fun kind of reversal of roles there, but it was super fun to have happen, which reminds me of these whole talks about, culture and people.
If only I had something to analyze the Lego set to help put it together. It's great. Folks are lining up for Elon Musk's brain implants. Neuralink they received it earlier this year, FDA approval for human trials. I know they have 11 surgeries planned for next year, 2024, but they're looking to expand to more than 22,000 a year by 2030.
Okay, that's an Elon number, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. 2030 is not
More like
that far
more
off.
like 2200 rather than 22,000 probably.
That's
But yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Specifically, they're looking for people younger than 40 with limb paralysis. I think
Oh,
eventually, coupled with a spinal implant that Neuralink is also developing, looking to come out next year, right? Probably. The brain implant could help restore vision, hearing, and movement for patients who have lost those abilities. I think it's
Wow.
pretty exciting work what they're doing. But I will
Is
say
it-
with a caveat.
Is it noticeable? Is it? I mean, obviously, it's got to go on the inside, touch the brain, of course. But is
It
it
does.
left also on the outside? Is it visible?
Less than a cochlear implant, so it's slightly above. I think there's a slight
wow.
raise, but it's
Phenomenal.
not. It's definitely not extremely visible. So
Yeah.
probably something that would be covered up by hair or something. Yeah.
Yep.
But
You guys remember
Or not if you're Brian. Yeah. Carry on.
there was a thank you, Andrew. There was a time in this world when I had hair. Also, there was a time in this world where everything we're talking about in this episode would be science fiction. I mean,
yeah,
flying cars,
What?
satellites in space to get us internet access,
Yep.
as our own 5,000 satellite constellations, implants
Autonomous
for the
driving.
brains. Yeah,
Yep,
this
yep.
is a crazy,
You got it.
and of course AI. I mean, AI is now no longer science fiction.
yeah. So Neuralink employees have basically acknowledged that the trial and error in other Musk ventures like SpaceX early rockets that exploded cannot happen at Neuralink, which I'm glad I'm glad they're clarifying that. Neuralink's director of special projects said, "We can't blow up the first three. That's not an option here." So
I'm glad they realize that that's not an option there. That's good. That's good. Good quality control.
But they also called it Big F Neuralink as well, like the rocket.
oh, maybe could be.
Yeah.
Who
Always
knows?
love that.
In other Musk news, Tesla earlier this week has threatened to sue Cybertruck resellers. So trying to prevent Cybertruck owners from reselling their rides to flip the car around for a profit. I kind of understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, the market's going to tell us what we need to do, right?
So he's trying to sue guys who've purchased a Cybertruck to not sell it on. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, within 12 months. There's a provision that they were adding.
Come on. The market
within
is the
12 months.
market. Last time I looked, Elon was like the foremost capitalist, and suddenly he's trying to curb it. Isn't it? It was the same when you start as this capitalist as a small business, and then when you get big with a huge market share, suddenly you throw that out the window, and now you want all sorts of rules to protect yourself. There you go.
Yeah. If found to be in breach of that provision, Tesla could sue for damages totaling either $50,000 or the value received for the sale, or even be able to step in and say, no, this is a sale.
People have been buying their Jordans.
Yeah,
they've been buying their rare Porsche and then flipping them for years and years. Exactly. So now I can't believe he gets away with it.
Is this something that folks are actually on board? Like, is there any feedback from this, or
there was feedback to the extent that later this week, Tesla started walking back those legal threats. So Tesla had removed all language altogether from the order agreements. So I'm glad to hear that they're listening to that. I think Tesla seems to be a pretty open to feedback organization, and take that and are pretty adaptable with it, which is always good to see.
Greg, I can't help but notice, but it's getting a little musky in here. Do you have any like non-Elon Musk related news for us?
It's funny. I do. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are currently 623,000 open jobs in the manufacturing industry.
Wow.
Now, that is
We've
little
got
lower
14 of them.
We've got 14 of them. That's right. And probably those are the most important ones in the entire industry. So those are the top 14 for sure. We've caught up a little bit from last year where 1 million job openings were around, but Deloitte expects to see over 2 million by the end of the decade, which 2024 is right around the corner. 2030 is not too far off, right? So
let's be clear: these jobs are no longer what we thought they used to be, which was all grime and grease and all that stuff.
Yeah.
These are changing manufacturing jobs. It's robot programming, it's robot maintenance, it's all these new jobs in manufacturing. So it's still sexy, or it's becoming sexy. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I mean, in the next couple of years, expectations are over 50% of the people in the workforce, in the manufacturing workforce and in any workforce, are going to have to be upskilled over the next couple of years just to keep doing the same job that they're doing now, let alone the jobs that we're looking to have people do in the next 10 years, right? I mean, we're sitting here talking about Neuralink and Joby, and there's a lot going on. So from a people perspective, it's making sure that one, you are every day making sure that you're looking for ways to improve and to learn and to grow, both professionally. And then also on the company side of things, they've got to make sure they've got ways set up so that they're currently upskilling their current workforce, so that they're not getting a ton of turnover when it comes time to move forward. Can't manufacture at scale without a bunch of people to help with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good.
I have a comment over here, guys, because the comment of Greg is really smart. I think how you can be updated in your job, all the day in with AI, with everything. Because right now, I think probably you can be the expert or the smarter guy, and you can have all of these skills, to keep your role or to apply for a new one and try to grow in your career, right? But for me, it's very probable that it's more important to know how to handle or use the new technologies, including the suites of software and using the different engines that you will have with the AI, right? Because if you know how to use the current tools, you're gonna try to create new answers or new results to try to innovate in the way to do the things right now. So I think for me, it could be more interesting in how to handle everything, how to create the new recipe to have different results, but with the current offer of suites of software.
So just speaking to that, it was a couple of days back. I think IDC had a live show come out talking about 2024 CEO priorities, and one of them spoke to exactly that. They've said the whole AI wave that's coming in contains so much intellectual property that's central to them. The last thing that they're going to want to do is to third party it out and get them to start doing it. Instead, what CEOs are looking at now is low code, no code platforms, getting in-house people to skill up, to take on these new AI tools, to take on these platforms, to reprogram things, but to keep it in-house. So the upskilling piece is huge, really, really big. And that's going to be a major driver for 2024, yeah.
Yeah, from a career perspective, I don't think there's a greater time in the last 50 years that we've seen to possibly look at making a career change, right? If you're stuck in your career and you want to make a career change, manufacturing seems to be an ideal spot to make that change.
Yeah, and all things connected with it. I totally agree.
Yeah. Speaking of career changes, I have heard that there might be a little bit of a change coming to some of the offerings we're doing here for the XDI like streaming shows we're doing. What are you bringing, Joseph?
Oof, here is a hot one. Because we are preparing a new show, guys, for the Latin and Hispanic personas that we have. We have a huge community. Reshoring, nearshore is growing a lot. And I think the last week and this week, I met with somebody really expert in engineering research and development, and he's requiring for different suppliers and how to develop everything they need that they have, for the company. And looks like we have a lot of tier 3 and tier 2, but these manufacturers won't go to the tier 1 and supply, the OEMs until they have enough information on how to do that, how to manage digital twins, how to manage software suites, and how to do different things, with the current information. So that is the idea. We are creating a podcast and live show of different videos. It's a new series, full Spanish, for the community that we have in Latin America, and also could be some other places in Europe, and why not in the US, right? It's growing a lot, Florida, Texas, and also California.
California, yeah, you bet.
Joseph, you said that show is going to be all in Spanish, right?
full Spanish, probably some Spanglish right there, para ponerle un poquito de español, ya sabes, to put a little bit of Spanish. But yeah, full Spanish. Yeah,
I want you to grab my Duolingo. I'll be back, guys. And
yeah, try that.
I just want to thank everybody on this panel here for joining us for a little recap over the last 7 days and what's happened, and of course how it relates into our industries here. And also thanks to you all who are watching right now or will be watching as a recap, over the weekend, whenever it is. Hopefully we fit a few exciting, pieces of news in here, maybe a joke or two, a bad pun. I know Andrew loves those bad puns. Speaking of which, Andrew, do you know what the ocean said to the beach?
It was, you said it last week, wave or something.
Exactly. Everybody wave bye. That's your cue to wave bye. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you next week with a special, not necessarily normal episode, because next week is Thanksgiving week. So tune in to see what happens. And with that, we're out of here.
Nice.